be the worst mark by a Giants quarterback in a season since the metric was invented in 2006. That's a 20-year span, and more than 10 points lower than Daniel Jones' mark last season. Welcome to NFL Live. Look, everybody's here. We got Dan Orlovsky, Mina Kime, Marcus Spears, as we get to dive into this news. Dan, was this the right move for the Giants right now?
It was the only move. You know, reality, would I have preferred it waiting one more week so it's not the Chargers and it's the Saints? Yes, but my guess is play him against the Chargers, get the first start jitters out, and then he can have some success against the lesser defense with the Saints. This offense needed to get more creative. It's been unbelievably uncreative the first 3 weeks. They got to get Malik Neighbors more involved with things other than deep balls. They got to get him working horizontally, more crosses. They haven't thrown Malik Neighbors a wide receiver screen yet.
Yeah.
It's really just go routes. They got to bring more athleticism to the offense. They got to work the ball in the middle of the field. So this was the only move that was really left for this Giants football team. Hopefully Jackson's ready for the moment.
I love that, Dan, and I'm supposed to talk about this. Susan, our producer, you already know. When do we start blaming Brian Daboll?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, obviously Daniel's balling in Indy right now, so that's a part of conversation. Daboll was so good with Buffalo and so good with Josh, and then he was really good in 22 with Daniel when they go to the playoffs. I don't know if the lack of creativity is attached to the quarterback, you know, and
whether he can't call it.
Yeah, whether we just have to run these plays because that's all he's capable of or willing to operate right now.
And the reason why I asked you that is because maybe you are more expansive with Jackson Dart.
Have to be.
Based on the talent, the athleticism, maybe you can implement more. I always think about it like this. The context of if you start the young guy, is he grasping not only the playbook, what is his preparation like during the week? There's a maturity process, and you know this is better than anybody, especially with a quarterback where your week of preparation tells your coach, we can put this on the plate for him this particular week.
Yeah.
And for everybody out there, like when you actually get into the season and you game planning, it's so much more condensed than the information that they're giving you in training camp. That's for every position in football. So him being able to not only adjust to what the game plan specifically is going to be with the Chargers, I have to believe that was a bigger part of the decision making to start him. And obviously we know what you were going to get out of Russ the rest of the way. His book is out on him.
I think they think they can do more with him than they can with him. I mean, at this point, the Russell Wilson offense is pretty limited. You saw that in Pittsburgh last year. When those deep balls are connecting, you saw that last week, it's great. The problem is not really thrown over the middle of the field and the lack of an intermediate, efficient passing game, or short, to be honest. First of all, I'd like to say the next time a team drafts a quarterback in the first round and people tell us they're going to sit, I'm going to laugh in their faces. Just
unless it's Green Bay.
Yeah.
Unless it's Green Bay.
Unless it's Green Bay. Unless this is like a Super Bowl team, but we knew this was going to happen.
Top 5 ever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. Or, I mean, people always point to Patrick Mahomes and forget Alex Smith was extremely good at that point. This is a different situation. I'm already thinking about the Chargers and just how they can set them up to succeed after watching that defense against Bo Nix. They got to run the ball well. I thought Cam Scatterbo looked really good.
Totally.
But that Chargers defense, if you can't run the ball on them, good luck.
Yeah.
You have to be able to run them out of some of those shells. Dart has to take what's available to him underneath. He has to be patient. But when those deep shots are available, and you saw this with Denver, Sean Payton dialed up double moves. Because they play so top down, you can beat them over the top. The quarterback needs to connect on that. Bo Nix didn't. That's what I want to see from Jackson Dart. I'm not asking him to shred the Chargers, but I would love to see one or two of those.
And also identifying every play.
Yeah. It'll be
number
interesting if they go a lot of no huddle as well. You know, obviously his college, we saw it in the preseason.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope if you do it and it's not working, but if you do it and it's working, you can get some energy going.
I want to see how much he moved the pocket too.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big thing with him and Josh in Buffalo.
And defenses don't necessarily love that, right?
And it's hard to play quarterbacks for the first time.
Yeah.
I tell y'all this, that's why the backups are always so popular when they come in the game. You know, my dog Rich Eisen was telling me, they got a chance with Jake Brown in. And I was like, Rich, no, they don't. It was a good week.
Reality.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the action of last night. An incredible game on Monday Night Football between the Lions and the Ravens. And that is where we go now. Lamar Jackson trying to make something happen at home with this team. And here they are in their first opportunity, this time tied, and Lamar and Mark Andrews connecting.
Yeah, that was one of Lamar's just great throws last night. We've seen the creativity of this offense come back, which has been beautiful the last 2 weeks. The toss, flea flicker, throwback, Amon-Ra St. Brown was all over the place.
It was a goal of the Lions to dominate time of possession. That's exactly what they did, but this offense was clicking on all cylinders. It was really fun to see the connection throughout for them, as it was a crazy environment in there, too. It was super loud. David Montgomery, you called this, Swagoo. You thought he was about to break out.
Well, you could see throughout the game that they were getting the blocking schemes that they wanted, and eventually one of these were going to pop.
Such a back-and-forth offensive battle. The defenses showed up at times, too, but tied at 21 at that point. We go to the fourth quarter, and here is Goff handing it off to St. Brown. He pitches it to Gibbs.
Dan Campbell was on the teams back in the day with the Cowboys and the Saints as a player that ran this very same play.
Yeah, a lot of people called it Ben Johnson's offense. I think Dan Campbell had a heavy hand in that. Here was an unfortunate part for Derrick Henry. He's got to clean up these fumbles, and he was devastated after this happened, as you might imagine. A huge turning point in the game. You see how frustrated he was. So then another chance, I know.
He must have tripped.
Another chance, though, for Lamar Jackson. And Aiden Hutchinson said, no thanks.
Well, y'all know how much I was in love with this. The rush plan was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I saw Lamar get put on the ground without one of them back-breaking runs.
It's David Montgomery with the handoff. This sealed the game with the touchdown. Hilarious. Jared Goff was telling him to go down, and then I asked him about it after the game. He's like, I was confused about what
score.
Yeah.
Don't score.
The score is better, and then for Lamar Jackson, it was disappointment. Here's what he said after the
I feel like week 1 was a wake-up call. You know, not just this loss. Week 1 was a wake-up call. Last week was a wake-up call, you know, because we started off slow last week, and, you know, we got beat tonight. The Lions had a great game plan. I feel like offense and defense for those guys played great. We just got to find a way to win.
He ready.
That's my point.
Yeah.
We're talking about Kelvin Shepard, the DC for the Lions. How did the Lions defense keep the Ravens contained last night, Swag?
It was the first time I saw an aggressive rush get Lamar on the ground and also being super sound, right? This goes back to years of us being together on this show about a rush plan and every other guy playing off the other guy. Opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, Muhammad was out of his mind last night rushing the passer. The interior guys pushed the pocket, as you can see. It was condensed and chased. They kept a spy on him at times. I think that changed the look up for Lamar. And even at those times where you thought he was going to break out and make one of those big breaking runs, they were able to get around his feet and get him on the ground. I thought it was a phenomenal idea last night to allow Aiden Hutchinson to get all of the attention and everybody else benefit from it. And you could tell that they made it a point, Detroit made it a point to keep their spies close to the line of scrimmage to perceive that it was an early
rusher. Can I ask you something on that?
Go ahead.
Because usually it's the rush, keep them in the pocket, almost build the wall. It felt like they were intentionally getting around the edge and forcing him up into the pocket.
Absolutely.
Have we not seen that before?
With Lamar, it's very rare you see it because one miss turns into 50 yards. But they were really, like Kelvin Shepard, the defense coordinator, was willing to roll the dice. He had a lot of faith in Jack Campbell and Ancellotti last night with getting Lamar on the ground or at least getting him bottled up in order to keep him in structure so people could get him on the ground. It was just a phenomenal job. It was super athletic.
Coverage was tight, too.
And cover was, I was just about to say.
You made him hold on to the football. When you're watching the TV copy, Lamar's back there padding, and Ravens fans are screaming, throw the ball! No one's open because they got bodies in coverage. And there were moments in the game where they would show pressure and then they would drop into coverage. I love this 3rd and 13 play. They showed an all-out blitz. Both linebackers dropped, but I love, Marcus, how they dropped to different depths.
Absolutely.
So one of the backers took away the middle of the field, the throwing lanes, and then the other spied them. So Lamar, he's sitting there padding. They keep both the running back and Mark Andrews in to pass protect, so nobody's open. You got 3 guys running routes. And I'm watching this. It was a 3rd and 13, thinking that is a brilliant pass rush.
Okay, the second level, the second level is so important, and I'm so glad you said that. When we played Michael Vick with Atlanta, it was about having guys on separate levels because most of the time he was going to make the first guy miss.
Yeah.
The job of that second level guy was to shoot his shot and make sure the one further away.
Oh, really?
The one closer was supposed to corral. Like, that's the one you want to make. The second level guy, as soon as that move or that initiation of potential contact, he is shooting. in order to get him to stop or change direction and the rest of the pursuit come. If you noticed last night, a lot of those sacks were from behind Lamar.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot in his face, and it was because of those levels that you talked about and guys just making sure they got him slowed up enough for the pursuit to get home.
Man, that's a good conversation. My favorite drive was the goal line stand defensively. I think the things that stood out were the preparation, communication, and then fundamentals. Because all 4 times, the Ravens sprint out of the huddle and quick snap it. And all 4 times, you see the Lions running sideline to sideline, communicating who's got where. And then there was like individual efforts of Campbell and Hutch and Branch. Guys just doing the fundamental things, keeping leverage, keeping the ball inside. 4 snaps in a row to quick count the defense and not once gain an advantage. They even went unbalanced one time.
Yeah.
Campbell called it out breaking out of the huddle. He was like, imbalance, get over. Kelvin Shepard, that was the first time this year I've walked away in regards to Kelvin Shepard being like, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
They won't skip a beat. They were ready.
It was fascinating watching Shepard on the sideline. He was constantly in communication with Anzalone and also Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell also during the goal line stand ripped his lip open.
Yeah, I saw
had
that.
blood gushing out of his mouth. It goes over to the sideline.
Of course he did.
They
So
got
Dan
it all.
Campbell.
It was so Jack Campbell, right?
So Dan Campbell.
Those 2 Campbells, they're cut from the same
It was a
cloth,
great
but
plan.
You just saw the toughness, but also the discipline
I
of
just
this
was
Lions
so
defense.
impressed with the willingness to say we're going to physically dominate the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Y'all got to imagine that is not the conversation when you play the Ravens.
Yeah.
No.
Most teams
Double
do not
spy,
feel
man.
like that.
Well,
I don't think I've seen
Yeah,
that.
that was fascinating. Dan
Levels-wise.
Campbell said they were taking the model from Pittsburgh. They said Pittsburgh's given the Ravens trouble for years, and it's because of that physical style and dominating time of possession. All right, we're just
Flag.
Oh, let's talk Vikings, you guys. Interesting stuff. Carson Wentz got the win for the Vikings on Sunday. Has only been on the field for 46 offensive plays this season, half as many as J.J. McCarthy, but the Vikings offense has looked a lot better with Wentz under center. Not only are they averaging more yards per pass attempt, but 2 more yards per rush, and the Vikings have not turned it over with Wentz on the field this season. Now, Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell was asked if once J.J. McCarthy is healthy, he will immediately return to start, and here's what he said.
I think, the first and foremost, he's got to get healthy. And then throughout that process, it's not just, I don't think it's one of those things where it's, hey, the day he's healthy, and if he's healthy the night before a game, we're going to just throw him out there and say, hey, go figure it out type of thing.
Marcus's face.
Because I told y'all yesterday it was a quarterback controversy.
Dan.
I told y'all. man.
Uh-oh. What did you see from Wentz on Sunday?
First of all, Christian Darrisaw matters a ton for the offense. A ton. Totally helped with the protection. I think the 2 things were he was really reactionary, which was a big deal. I think that sped up the style of their pass game. Like he reacted to coverage a little bit faster than JJ has. I think the second thing was the timing of their pass game was really good. I was not expecting that he was going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hit his back foot, and the ball would come out to, a backside post or an outbreaker to the field. So that was something that, I think JJ's sitting back and watching once again, going, all right, again, Darrisaw being a part of that matters. So the reaction and the timing were a big deal. 2 good, 1 bad. You still saw 3 or 4 sacks where you're like, don't do that, stop holding it, don't do that. And so if he can 1 or 2 a game, get rid of that, I do think that there's a lot of good to the style of play that he showed.
Yeah, I just don't think you can, before I get to the defense, you can't overlook what he did with Sam Darnold last year. It's a part of the equation. And this is about winning. I'm going to go to the defensive side because obviously there's a lot of onus put on that while you're figuring out this quarterback spot. But Brian Flores is back to his old habits, and it works. And none other than the perfect Cincinnati Bengals who are going to land up in shotgun 700 times a game and allow you to disguise. You look at around the line of scrimmage, this is how you're always fooled. And now you get out of this late, but now we have confusion on the offensive line. We're trying to figure it out. I love these condensed tackles as well to have a game situation. It looks like the whole team is going to rush. It's only 4 and they're running games. The offensive line is trying to figure out not only who's coming, but also how do we pass these games off. And the mind tricks that are happening
he
with
just
protection.
showed 3 coverage.
That was diabolical.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, for y'all know, y'all look at that prism, and you and Mino are 2 of the best at it. When you start talking about the back end, and obviously RC, I look up front because my whole career was spent trying to confuse or dictate protection.
Right.
And he does a better job as anyone in the league. Now, you got to trust your guys.
Yeah.
You got to trust them to get their depth,
the timing
coverage.
of it.
You got to trust the timing. And that's why sometimes with Ben Johnson, when he has success, a lot of quick snaps to catch you.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they aren't going to do that in Cincinnati. We know it.
Yep.
Cincinnati knows it.
Yep.
The whole world knows it. And that was set up perfectly for Brian Flores to have a day like he had.
Mina, if they do go back to J.J. McCarthy when he's healthy, what does need to change?
He just got to play faster. I mean, it's as simple as that. You mentioned Carson Wentz did take a few sacks, but outside of those sacks, he was hitting his first read like bam. 2.44 time to throw. J.J. McCarthy this season is 3.15, which is, if not the longest, close to it in football. The first read is open in Kevin O'Connell's office. Yeah, this was like proof of concept for that. So many of the passing concepts I thought so well executed. The receivers getting open. Jordan Addison back is huge, but McCarthy